This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports. We're delighted to be joined once again with Jamie Conlan. Jamie, it's becoming too regular now. It was the other week we had you in Zoom and now we're back again. But we're here today obviously to announce big time boxing's back to Belfast. First world title fight in nearly 5 years. I know you said nearly 7 years the other day. I had to correct you, so I'm looking for a tenner for that. But I guess this is why Conlan Boxing all started, by bringing the big world title fights back to Belfast, and this is probably the start of more to come.
Yep, it is. World Championship Boxing back in Belfast, but also two massive media giants in ESPN and BT Sport also coming to Belfast, and it shows the clout that we have here in Belfast, that boxing is booming, that we can generate sell-out arenas pretty quickly, and in the week that it's in, Katie and Michael both going back to back. It's fantastic. Irish sport boxing sport hasn't seen the likes of it in a long while, and long may it continue, because I do believe the talent is here for the future to really grow something, and there is a lot of fighters that will be looking to shine on both cards to really grab the headlines and drag things, keep going forward with the sport here.
I know obviously over the last year or so we've had a lot of the YouTuber, the misfits and things like that, where they're trying to latch into the casual audience. I think it sort of said the other day that, I think I said to Pete Taylor about Katie's homecoming, obviously Mick here in Belfast. It's for somebody that's looking to get into the sport, it's the perfect time. I think there's 5 fight cards in Ireland over the course of 8 weeks, which is mental, and I don't think we've ever seen it probably as good. I was sort of joking with someone earlier and I was going, what do we do when we get to June? We're going to have this dramatic drop off and there's going to be no fight cards. But I guess we just have to focus on what's coming up. And like today's intent today, 2 ABO champions as well. And I know you're a massive fan of Anto. It's probably a relief for 8 years, no fights at home. You've been boxing, retired and everything else in that time, in 8 years, no Anto, and finally landed a big one in Belfast.
Yeah, definitely. 5 shows in 8 weeks. It was fantastic. We have 2 of them, one in Galway and one in Belfast. So it's a great time to be involved in Irish boxing. And again, the rapport we got and Kieran Malloy got in Galway showed that the west of Ireland, who have been starved even more so than us, are crying out for big nights, and we'll be going there more often. So yes, it's a big time. It's big time for boxing here in the country, and hard we build off it will be down to the fighters. Anto winning, Paddy winning, Mick winning, Katie winning, Gary Cully winning, everyone kind of going forward, and should be rooting for each other, because the more winning, the more carrying the flag going forward, the more these big broadcasters have to come in and support Irish boxing and have to be able to bring the eyeballs to the great nation that we are in terms of boxing. Back to Anto, yeah, we've championed him for a long while. I've been a big supporter of Anto Cacace since his amateur days, since he was fighting Ross Hickey and stuff like that in the National Stadium, and Eric Donovan, and I've always really thought he was special, and he was able to do things as an amateur and as a pro that kind of were beyond his years. He's finally now getting an opportunity, and I hope he grabs it with both hands. He will. He seems like he has the bit between his teeth, and he needed it. I think he needed it for both his career and both his mental state, to be fighting here, be fighting in Ireland, and be fighting in Belfast, and be getting the exposure that BT are bringing to him, and Queensberry are bringing to him, and ESPN are bringing to him, and a big fight that'll move the needle is what's needed now for Anto.
I know obviously over the last couple of years, and that you don't have to say too much sort of on the inactivity and not sort of getting the opportunities. Fight week sort of cancelled in Wembley last year. Then I was looking at MSG for the Jake Paul Tommy Fury card, and it was obviously pulled. They then obviously get Sean McCombs to get him a fight. They obviously catapulted. It's probably the right time now to bring him home.
Yeah.
To see the love of obviously the Belfast fans, because he's well supported, and a lot of people's been used to watching him on TV. Well, we couldn't afford to go to Birmingham or anything else like that. But he's now going to feel a special atmosphere on the 27th of May.
It's something I think he hasn't experienced in his career, so this will be a massive night for him. Harry deals with it emotionally, so he'll have to kind of be accustomed to that and get used to that and try to learn off that. But it's a massive night. If Anto Cacace could be topping bills here in the city, and this is a night that he could really put his flag in there to really do so.
Obviously, when he touched on Paddy, obviously it was initially looked at an agreement that was in principle with Falclough. I'm not sure if we can say probably too much about it, because it looks like he may have a fight somewhere else. But do you want me to mention it? So obviously Falclough is going to fight Dave Morrell Jr. Looks like on the Tank Davis Undercard on the 22nd of April. But obviously it's just trying to maybe look at a position elsewhere for Paddy now and maybe getting a final eliminator?
Yeah, well, Paddy's position stays the same. He was one half of the eliminator with Falclough. Falclough was lucky enough to get the call up for April 22nd, and now we look for a new dance partner for Paddy. But we have 3 options. We're speaking to 3 different people, and every fight is exciting. Paddy wants fights that move the needle. Paddy wants big fights, and we have to also weigh up the risk-reward factor on each fight because he is in such a valued position with the BA, and there is a big title shot down the lane. But again, every fight now is a world title fit for Paddy. It doesn't have the tag of it, but it does have the feeling of it, and it does have the repercussions of it. So if he wins, it's always good. But if he loses to the snakes and ladders that this game is, he's right back down to the start.
It's sort of similar to you, obviously, in the fact that you getting obviously your world title fight. It was sort of trying to position yourself in the right way to get there. So you've been there, you've experienced it. So when these conversations are tough and Falclough pulls out, you know what it's like to go through. So that I know you've been very close with Paddy since he's pretty much first started, but you know the right conversation to have with him to keep him focused now.
Yes, I do, and we play devil's advocate on each other a lot, and we look at all different scenarios and situations, and that's what's cool with Paddy is you can be pretty open with him, and he can be pretty open with you, and that's the best way to be, and it's the way I like it, because then we know where we all stand and what is on the table, and we've looked at different options for this and different obstacles that these options do propose. So it's something that I'm happy to be a part of. I'm proud to be a part of Paddy McCrory's career because he is a good person. He is a good, outside of boxing, he is a good human being, a good man, a good family man, and that's kind of everything that we're doing. Every step he takes, you feel the reward and relief from and the excitement of it. So this next one is big. Every fight now is big, but this one, being in Belfast, being at home, being where he is with the BA, is crucial. It's dangerous. With that danger comes massive reward. And when he wins, May 27th, we're talking about our own show, his own show in the Odyssey, and trying to bring people here. And when you have a crowd here that will show up and turn out, and the bay that they want, they're baying for boxing here, they're really begging for boxing here, and World Championship boxing. Paddy, Anto, Michael, the big names that come with it, Katie and Gary Cully, they can really carry the flag for the next few years. We have talent here that can carry the flag of Irish boxing for the next few years.
Obviously, when you touch on SSE, obviously it's summer. You obviously had your world title fight. I'm trying to think. Was your world title fight after Burnett Saniakov, or was his the last, or was yours the last in the SSE?
I think actually, mine's. Solana Tati was also on the same night as me.
That was his 13-second knockout, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, because I had to get rushed in out to get into the ring. Frampton then fought Horatio Garcia, and then I think he was Nanito maybe after that, and then Luke Jackson. Paddy Warrens was Luke Jackson. But the SSC is always a special place. I felt the crowd when I fought for the world title here, and Hardy kind of lifted me up, not once, but probably 5 times. I think
that was a fight I've hated, probably yours the most, because when you're getting that roar of the crowd, when you're getting knocked down, and there was brutal shots and stuff as well, and they're going, get up, get up, get up. And you're always going to keep getting up because you're a mix and you're just a warrior and everything else. But that was probably your downfall, the fact that you're maybe just telling the crowd, stay down, live to fight another day, sort of like a Rocky moment. But you've seen that experience, obviously, of yourself, obviously, fighting a world title there. For Mick, obviously, fighting a world title. An IBF as well, which is good, the Irish boxers. It just seems that all the dots are adding up, that we're finally going to have a male Irish world champion for the first time since 2019, I think, since TJ Dehaney.
Yeah, TJ done it on the road. Yeah, he was an IBF world champion. Burnett was an IBF champion, a world champion. Carl Frampton was an IBF world champion. So it's really stood as well in the past, and especially with the little men, like all who I just named there. And it's it's massive. Like knowing our brother is in this position to do it again, and after the rebuild of last year, and Harry's kind of reacted to that and rebuilt from that and learned from that. It's a testament to him. Harry's kind of coped through the struggles and through the tough times. Harry's rebuilt through them and got back in the position and overcame the obstacles that was in his way. So it's a tough night. Listen, there is no doubt about it. This is a harder fight than Lee Wood. I believe it's a harder fight than Lee Wood. Lee Wood, we knew, was powerful and strong, could punch really hard, and one of the biggest punchers in the featherweight division. But I thought, and we always kind of were aware that there was numerous different ways of beating Lee, orthodox or southpaw. With this guy, with Lopez, he is erratic. He is nothing that he's seen before. He is unpredictable. He is heavy-handed. He is both physically strong, mentally strong. He fights good on the inside, he fights really good on the outside. He attacks for distance, he attacks inside. There's a lot of ways that you have to cope. You know, a lot of different things that he brings to the table that you have to cope with, and Michael has to be on point, both mentally, physically, technically, to really get this one right. And every kind of box has to be ticked on the night. And this is a real tough, no doubt about it. We're all patting each other on the back that we've got this fight here in Belfast, but we've got the big fish. We've got the hardest fighter, I think, in the division for anyone to prepare for, not just Michael. And a real clash of styles, a real clash of styles. It's intriguing. It's a real boxing fight. It's a real trade fight, because I think you ask 10 people and they'll give you 10 different ways that the fight can go.
Obviously, I wanted to touch on Lopez as well, because we've spoke about him obviously at length. You know, when he was supposed to fight, when he was fighting Isaac Lowe, and we were saying that obviously he was heavy-handed with both hands. This is probably maybe the first real offensive fighter that Michael's had. I can obviously remember his days in America, having to chase opponents around the ring. This has probably built him up for this moment. He's dropping everybody. He's training obviously like he's never trained before. Lopez's strength might be Michael. You know, Lopez's strength could be his weakness against Michael and walking into something, particularly if he wants to try and shut down the Belfast atmosphere straight away. If he could maybe walk into something straight away first round.
Well, I think he will attack from the first minute, because that's what he'll do. He'll try and quiet the crowd like he did in Leeds. He put the pressure on and really put Warrington on the back foot and in danger for the first round, the first 6 rounds. And then Warrington came into the fight on the back end and brought the crowd into it then. And you've seen a difference in character and how the fight was turning in Warrington's favour. Michael and Warrington are 2 different styles and will pose 2 different opportunities, both for Lewis Lopez and both for Michael and Josh. So it's intriguing. There's ways that I know he has seen. He sees a fight really well. He reads a fight really well and reads a fighter really well, and doesn't really look at them too much, but looks at their strengths and what they do well and tries to exploit them. And as you just said there, Lopez's strengths could be his weaknesses in the end.
Also want to finally touch on the Queensbury obviously link up with us still. Obviously, people looking in from the outside would probably maybe suggest, you know, fighters like Willow Hayden and Pierce O'Leary, that obviously are Irish fighters. Is there any, obviously, do you want to give too much away on what the undercard may look like so far? Well,
that will be, you know, Queensbury have allocated slots for the card, and they'll pick their fighters who they want to go on it. And we've discussed with George Warren a few, and I'm delighted to be working with them on this. George is, you know, very good to work with, and kind of bringing BT Sport in was a big coup, I think, for us on this. We've been doing it on our own back for the last 2 shows, and it's been tough. Doing it with Fight TV, which has been a big help, but still tough. But they have a few slots. They have some great fighters on their books. You know, Willow Hayden, Pierce O'Leary, Anto. There's a few others that they have in mind, and I would love any of them to be on the card. And, you know, as Irish as possible. The more Irish, the more merrier. And then we have our own slots, and Top Rank have 2 with Kurt and Kieran if they come through April. Okay, we're looking at maybe Lewis Crocker, Fergus Quinn, Tyrone McKenna, Connor Quinn. You know, we want everyone in good fights, because we want to showcase the talent that we have in this city, in this country, you know, in this province, whatever you want to identify it by. But we all kind of work together and give everyone an opportunity to really showcase their talents on the night. And we need it, because after May 27th, we want more big nights here. We'll be hungry for more. We'll be hungry for more, and I do think after May 27th, Michael will become world champion. You know, a December fight or a Falls Park fight in August is what kind of we all want to happen for the fighters here, and yeah, that's what we're working towards.
I think there's obviously rumour as well of obviously a former GAA player and James Freeman maybe looking at making his debut on the card as well. Apparently he's going to sell quite a lot of tickets. That's music to your ears, I guess. If obviously you can get a fighter who's going to make their debut, it's going to sell a lot of tickets. You're always going to be interested.
We're always interested in hearing what's been pitched to us from the different managers. Ian Cochran has mentioned James, and there's been a few others being mentioned. So yes, we'll be locking in the card in total within the next 2 weeks before tickets go on sale.
Well, listen, thanks very much for your time as always, Jamie. And we'll give you a couple of weeks. Obviously, it's 4 weeks tomorrow until Galway. Yes. And I think you're saying that the rest of the undercard's going to be announced for Galway next week as well.
Next week, undercard for Galway. We didn't want to clash with our announcements and Katie's announcements, but yes, I think most of the lads know, and they've probably been stating that they're on it in terms of Lewis and the rest of the guys who are coming on. Jared Hughes will be on it, who was here today, and his first fight down south, and it'll be some good fights going to be on it, and we're trying to again keep Irish boxing moving.
Thanks very much for your time, Jamie. Take care.
Cheers, Morty. Here we go.